There we go. Okay, so welcome everybody. It is November 4th. It's 12 o'clock noon where I live. It's probably 10 o'clock somewhere, and it may be, it's late at night. Martin is joining us, so it's evening where Martin is.
Wow, Martin, hey.
Yeah, so. At least on my screen right next to me is Brandon. He's going to be talking today about building Flask websites from scratch, which is actually kind of cool. I've kind of played around with Flask and Django a couple times and been thoroughly and completely confused. So I'm looking forward to this. These things usually clear things up for me. Afterwards, I'll have a couple of words to say, but other than that, I'm going to turn this over to Brandon. If you have any questions, go ahead and fire them off in the chat, and I will make sure that we get those over to Brandon. So, and without further ado, Brandon, it's all yours.
All right, well, thanks for the intro, John. I will share my screen here. Okay. So I'll introduce myself. So my name is Brandon, of course. I am, of course, a mentor for Coding Nomads. I came from a background in computer engineering and I got a robotics master's, did a bunch of college. But I really love Python. I taught it first in grad school and I loved it ever since. And I just love teaching it to others. And I created the Coding Nomads Flask course. It's all web dev using Python. You can, if you like what you see here, you can head over there, check it out, see if you like it. And so for my day job, I work in software and hardware, and I save eagles on a daily basis. Kind of cool. When I grow up, though, I want to be a space roboticist. But enough about me. I want to talk to you about a very well, I guess it was a problem back in 2020, but I stumbled upon this website. How much toilet paper do you need to survive quarantine? And so you can put in, I don't know why it's not working, but maybe that'll do it. Yeah, so you put in how many rolls you have and how many visits you do, and it will tell you how long you're going to last of your quarantine. Well, we're going to make a similar one because it's the only thing I could think of to even make. And right now, we have a blank screen here. We're going to put our app on here. So over on this side, I'm going to move Zoom. So over on this side, we're going to just go ahead and pip install Flask. And by the way, if anybody has any questions at any point, go ahead and ask them because this is going to go kind of quick.
Yeah, so you're basically starting at a just a blank standard virtual environment right here.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
That's I got my virtual environment. I got VS Code here. I've got a new project. So I'm just going to go ahead and pip install Flask. And it's easy as that. All right, and then next I need, of course, a Python file because this is all Python. Okay, and so with everything all set up, all I do is from Flask import Flask, and then the Flask, to create a Flask app, all you do is Flask. You give it the just the name of the package you're going to call it, which is honestly just name. And then I'll do the name is main and then run the app. And I'm going to run it in debug mode because that helps development and debugging. All right, cool. This is it for a Flask app. It's I mean, honestly, it's only 2 lines, really. So all I do is Python app and run it. Awesome. So when I refresh here, something else happened. I get a not found, but it seems like there's something there. But it says on the server, meaning that this Flask app has created a server for us instantly, and it exists at this address here, which is just localhost. A port, just my computer. It doesn't go anywhere else yet. But so, and then next, we'll start making a page show up here. We'll work backwards, and then we'll start with the results of somebody supplying how many roles and stuff they have. So to make a page, you simply do it, you use a decorator. It's called app.route. And the rule just means where it's going to show up. So where you want it to show up for here is just the home page, just index. I will call this one results because, like I said, we'll work backwards. It doesn't take any arguments. And for making something show up, all I really have to do is just return a string, and Flask does everything else for you. So I want to say you'll last 10 days. We'll just say that for now. Save it. This is restarting the app because I have it in debug mode. And I've got a message here. And honestly, I need to make that H1 so you can see it. So you can put HTML in a string and it will show up. Any questions so far?
That was looking really cool.
Yeah, it's instant. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
You can get up and running in no time.
So the route
yeah.
that you give it, is just the basically the URL from whatever you're hosting at this point. So right now it's a localhost.
Yeah, it's based on that.
Right. So it's a localhost 5000, and so localhost 5000 / is like, your index.html, your root. If you were to give it a different route, then that would break, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's right. All right.
So you're just creating an endpoint there, and you're returning some straight HTML, but you could reference a template file or something there instead.
Very good. That's where I was going to go next.
Cool.
So
Jared read ahead in the material, apparently.
well,
I'm just curious, honestly.
I'll get there in a second. But first I'm going to show, because this is a static, I only get 10 days. I have to change this number every time. Well, instead I could put in a dynamic. So this is called a dynamic route, and I could put a dynamic part of it. And then that translates to putting an argument here. But Flask is going to do all of this. And if I add a days, like 3 days. Okay, well, it didn't change yet because I need to get some F string. Cool. And then, boom, 3 days. Makes sense? So I just, it's read the 3, it passed it here into the route, and I was able to render it with just a simple F string. Okay, and now Jared, I will satisfy your templating desires. Yeah, templates in Flask mean just HTML files, basically. So Flask looks for template files in a folder called templates. And I will just simply make a HTML file. Okay, and now I can put HTML stuff in here. Okay, so just HTML, I'm going to leave it as it is just to show you something. So now I can import render template, and it's going to just kind of copy and paste all of the HTML from the file that I give it, which is index.html, and results. Sorry, results. Okay. All right, so it's reloaded and I refresh, but now I have this problem where I can't give it a certain number of days. I still have this argument here. It's still being passed in, but it's not, nothing's done with it. So Flask comes with it a cool templating engine called Jinja. And that's basically really fancy F strings in HTML. Well, you can think of it that way. And all I have to do here is just double the curly brackets. But that's not all. Because if I refresh, oh. Well, anyway, that's not all. I have to pass in the days to the templates or render template function. And we're back to where we were. But so these templates give you more flexibility. You don't have to type a bunch of string stuff in a return statement that gets old and makes your wrist tired. So that's a really nice feature too.
So I've got two questions here because we're using days in a bunch of different places.
Yes.
We use the word days in the route. Does that have
Yep.
to match the variable that gets passed into the results function?
No. So, so I'll say days left here, and then I'll refresh, and that seems to disappear. What it gives was because the keyword argument name has to match whatever you're referencing in Jinja.
In the template, right? Okay.
So now it's good.
Okay. How about in the route, in the decorator? We've got days up in the decorator. Does that have to match on line 5? Does that have to match the parameter we're passing into results on line 6?
Say that again.
Up in the route on line 5.
Yeah.
Does that days that's in that route, does that have to match the
Mhm.
parameter that's being passed in on line 6?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you.
These can actually be, I don't remember the order, but these can actually be like typed, as in you can convert it to an integer on the spot, and then anything that's not an integer that's put into this URL is not going to work. Cool. All right. And so we've got all that, but so now how do we give data to it so that it can calculate how many days we have left? For that, I'm actually going to make another page, and that page will redirect to this page so that you can see how many days you have left for how much toilet paper you have. All right. So I'm going to actually make this slash, and this I will change to results. So now if I save this, I have to type 1,000 and then results and 2. Let's say 2. Okay, so it changes. That's great. So it changes. All right, and now I'll make the second route, and I'll call this index the true index. I don't need the argument. And then I'll do return, I'll do template, and I'll make another HTML file called index. Pretty simple. And then in here, come on, where'd you go? In here, I'll just say how many days of what do I call it again? Yeah. How long until you run out of toilet paper? Okay, do that. Oh, that's right. There we go. Cool. All right. So now, how do I give this thing data? How do I give it number of roles, number of visits, any of that? So Flask gives the ability to, there's extensions. Flask community has made extensions to allow it to expand and grow and do all kinds of cool stuff. Flask all by itself is just a server and it can show you pages. It's a little limited there, but it's still pretty powerful. Instead, we're going to use, so we're going to use a form extension. It's called Flask WTF. It stands for WT Forms, but this is the form library, I guess we can call it, form package that we're going to use to make a form. And this is simply from Flask, import Flask form. That's the base form. And then, so I'll show you the, make a class up here. So all you have to do with these this form library is to create a class that inherits from form. And now we have to give it fields. And this is from the key forms fields. I'll just give it a couple or a few integer fields and a submit field. And then I need validators to say that you put data in there. And let's just data required. Okay. So instead of typing a bunch of stuff, I think I will just copy and paste this. You're not missing much. It's just fields. So, so this is, you just give it a class variable, it's an integer field, and then here's a label. And then the validator is, you just have to put data required, just means you have to put data into the form field. All right, and then I want to render this. So I'll make
real quick there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those validators, do they validate the input type as well?
They
You're just trying to
could.
take in an integer
I
there.
think it's mostly just the integer field would kind of be constrained to integers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I can put submit here.
Awesome.
The submit
Okay.
field is just the button to say I'm done. Here's my stuff. All right. So, so I'll just make a instance of toilet paper form, and then pretty much that's it for. Let's see. So I'll show you what happens if I try to use this form right now. Oh, I need to rerun it. There we go. Okay, so it says runtime error, secret key is required to use CSRF. What the heck is it talking about? So forms, or at least Flask form, implements a thing called cross-site, what is it? Something forgery, bad stuff. So all we need to do is give the app a secret key, which is a secret, don't tell anyone. Secret key is a secret that please don't, can't spell. Doesn't matter, it's a secret key. Tell anyone. Okay, so now when I try again, I get the page again, but I don't get the, where's the form? The form's not here. Well, of course, I didn't pass it in. So I'll say form is TP form. And we still have a problem, still not showing up. Any guesses?
Well, there's nothing in the index that actually references that form.
That's right. So we need to just do a little bit of HTML stuff here for a format. There is a quicker way, but I don't think I have time for it today. Forms use what's called the post request to submit data. The user makes a post request behind the scenes and submits their data to the server, which is the Flask server. And I will do another, what is going on? Okay, so I will not bore you with the typing. This hidden tag, so this is all rendering, if you remember. This is just templating, double curly brackets, and Jinja, the templating engine, does the rest. So this comes from this form. And the hidden tag is just for the CSRF protection, so that hackers can't grab your data. And then all this other stuff is our fields. So here's first field and a label, or here's a label, and then this one renders the field, so you can type a number in. And same thing, and then the submit button. Cool. So when I refresh, it shows up. Cool. It's a little ugly, but that's okay. It's we're just trying to make an app from start to finish, and it's from scratch, and it's okay if it's ugly. Awesome. So, John, how many rolls do you have in the closet?
Without giving away the farm, because we just went shopping, I think I have 6.
Okay. We'll just say 2, or we'll say 2, and then maybe 2. Uh-oh. So I submit it, and I get a method not allowed. What the heck does that mean? I wrote a method, or I wrote a function. What could be wrong?
Does this mean I can't go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You'll have to hold it. So method not allowed doesn't mean you can't use the function or use the bathroom. It just means that you haven't. Routes handle requests, so they can handle any kind of request, including GET requests, which are, I refresh the page, show me the stuff that you have, Mr. Server. And a post request is, I have data for you, and here it is. That's like, as the user, here you go, server. Here's my toilet paper information. So now that we just have to add these methods here, or it's method, I forget. But once we do that, okay, it doesn't look any different, but submitting doesn't fail. It doesn't do anything, but so what do we do now? It's we have to get the data from the form, and that's pretty simple. It's so Flask form has a method called validate on submit, which just means it validates all of these, that all of this is filled in. If it's not, for example, it says please fill this in. Okay, so it's going to validate it, and then it's going to submit. And once all that happens, then you can process the form. This will say that R is TP form dot roles you have dot data, and a couple more is visits per day, and then wipes per visit. So now I have all that, and I have to do a calculation. Anyone guess what that is? I'm just kidding. You don't have to know. So here we go. I've done all the math already. So I'm just assuming there are 160 sheets per roll. And here's the math formula. You can verify it if you want. Okay, cool. So now it's gonna grab all that data, but where's it gonna go? Well, we have the days and we have this other route. So we could probably just throw it there. How would we do that? I would say we can use a redirect. And I'm also going to include this URL for. Okay, so yes, we're going to redirect after the user submits the form, and they will return redirect. And then I'm going to redirect them to the results page. So this URL4 just grabs the name of the function that's handling requests for this page. And that's results. And then I can give it a argument, which is Flask. So this is just a keyword argument. It's going to pass it in to here. Cool. So now I can give this a shot. So I'll just refresh. Okay, 6, 2, 2. Oh, look at that. Looks like it worked. Awesome.
Long time for 6 rolls.
Yeah, that'll last you a while, more than people think.
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand this. So when we came when we did localhost 5,000,
yeah,
we just did that. It went right to it goes to that def index, and we get a form, and then TP form validate on submit doesn't do anything that first time through because there's nothing there. Correct?
That's right. Yep.
It.
So
it bypasses the if, it goes and it returns our index.
Yep.
When we click submit, what's the connection between submit and validate on submit? Is that something that Flask does? Because it seems to me that when
something that Flask is doing part of it. So Flask form is just the form. Flask form is rendering the form from the template, and it's gonna, when you hit submit, it's gonna validate everything is in here. Everything is in here. Everything looks right. You can do all kinds of other validation along with just making sure there's stuff in here. So yeah, then after it validates, it's going to submit, and when it does that, so when it comes back here, like if I were to hit a breakpoint and it were to evaluate this because somebody submitted something, the request type would be post. The first time when it gets to here, the request type is get.
Okay.
So it's just give me data, give me the page, let me see it. Post is I'm submitting data to you, server. So I want you to, the message just means that this route can handle that type of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm seeing, I'm seeing the connection here. Thanks. That cleared it up. Okay. Thank you.
And then once you get here, that's when
right. At that point, we're assuming that, yeah, we're in a post. We've got everything. Everything's been validated. We're good to go. Now we can pull all the data, do our stuff, and redirect. Got it.
That's right.
Okay. So it's already aware that the submit has taken place at that point.
Yes. So, yep. And this is all possible thanks to post. And we get all that stuff. And then the redirect changes. It's sort of changing the post request at this point into a get request to show this form or show this page. And it's passing the days to it, and then we get 240 days. So I would say we have created this app from start to finish. And I wanted to make sure this was simple enough so that everybody could understand it and so that I could allow for plenty of time for questions. And honestly, I could add some enhancements to it as well, make it look a little prettier if you want. Put some Bootstrap up in there.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask how you go about that, if it's just simply in the templates or if there's other methods in that you'll implement in the code.
Yeah, so like I said, extensions make Flask better, or at least more capable of things. And there's another extension called, need to move this on the way again, Zoom's on the way. So there's another extension called Flask Bootstrap. It's so hard to type that word. I struggle with it every time. Okay, and that was easy. This is pretty easy too, from Flask Bootstrap. So this is just a bunch of styles and a few helper methods too. For some styles, some helper methods, I'm going to import the Bootstrap class from this package. So this is extensions except for Flask or Flask WTF are initialized from by calling this init app method. So I'm going to make I simply make a instance of this Bootstrap class, and this init app method is implicitly called within just the constructor here. We're just starting simple, so all we have to do is pass in app, and then we have Bootstrap. So relaunching this and going back. So if I refresh the page, it doesn't look any different. Well, it's again a problem with the templates. Well, not a problem, I wouldn't say. It's just they need a little help. So there is a thing called inheritance in templating, which is a really cool feature. So I'm going to make a base template, but in this template, so if you think of object-oriented programming, some of you may have seen object-oriented programming in Python, and some of you may have just, gotten most of the fundamentals out of the way first. You haven't gotten to object-oriented, but in object-oriented programming, a class can inherit from another class and get sort of all of their properties, and then add additional functionality. So it's you don't have to reuse code as much. And templating has a similar thing, and it's sort of called extending from another template. So I'm going to give it what Bootstrap gave us here. So Bootstrap has a base.html itself, and that gives a lot of styles, and it gives a lot of Jinja enhancements too. So Jinja is a templating engine. Jinja is kind of a language in its own, and this is what it looks like. It's curly brackets and percents and double curly brackets. But just by doing this for this template, I now have Bootstrap styles, and now I need to add a content. Okay, so these blocks are really just sort of chunks in your HTML that you want to maybe modify or modify or keep the same as the last, is like the parent template. So just to show you, I needed to make this first, but the content of our page will go in this. But I won't use this base. This base will be the base for, let's say, index. I'll show you how that works. And I'll extend from the base.html. Extends. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna put this all in the same block as before. Oops. Otherwise it won't show up and you won't see anything. So cool. So now I think it's good. All right, now it looks beautiful. That was pretty quick. I'm wondering if there's a way to make these play nicer. Oh, there is a way to make it play nicer. I remember. So does that make sense, by the way, before I move on? I know it's kind of a lot. It's a little complicated with the
Well, yeah,
inheritance.
what's the relationship between the two blocks in the different?
Oh yeah. So let's say I put in the base. So this, when I say put something in the base, I'm meaning put something for anything that would inherit it to possibly get as well. So this is the base is just all I put here. So you would think that index would get get this text as well. It doesn't, but you can still get it. So templating is powerful. It's surprising. It's almost just as powerful as like what you can do with Python. It's basically like object-oriented programming for HTML. And so I used super, which is similar to the Python keyword, to get the original stuff from the base class, let's say the base template. So it's going to show that stuff from this block. It's going to inherit the stuff from the base HTML's content block.
Right. Okay. Very
I can
cool.
see,
Yeah, I need to show these side by side so that's easier.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it being really useful for, putting in, have your base actually be your boilerplate, and then just, you're just filling in content and all the other things, or
Yeah.
Little CSS blocks or something in there.
Yep, it's pretty neat stuff. Bootstrap gives you style. So if I just pull this up, I wanted to bottom. Okay, so where's the? Okay, well, this isn't as easy as I thought it would be. Never mind, it's a little scrunched. But what I was going to show was that this is interesting. So what I was going to show was just that Bootstrap was put into the form, and all I had to do was, or put it into the page. All I had to do was make this Bootstrap object and inherit from Bootstrap in a template, and then I just get all the styles. It's pretty instant.
It looked like it was down there because there was some JavaScript that was included, and it looked like that JavaScript was what was there.
Yeah.
When you did the page source.
It includes some JavaScript, includes some CSS styling. It's got a lot of Jinja. It adds some Jinja stuff, which is exclusive to Flask Bootstrap, because Bootstrap itself is a styling library, I guess you could call it. What else is there? Right, I was going to make this form much easier instead of this it's kind of a lot. So there's Bootstrap also, Flask Bootstrap also gives you this nice, so it gives you this nice convenience functions, and one of them is from import Bootstrap. So it's got convenience functions for rendering forms from the WT forms library. So WT forms, and it's got its own cool quick function. To do this, I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't need it. I can rewrite all of that with, so I've named this import as, this is Jinja. So I'm importing a template that has a it's got a macro. I think this is called a macro. So it's like a function in Python. So if I type this and then quick form, so I'm going to, I've already passed the form from the index here. So yeah, here's form. So that's why this is here. And then this comes from, oops, this import. All right, and now, uh-oh, unexpected, there it is. So I'll just hide it for a second. Okay, no form. And there's the form in one line.
That's really kind of cool.
Yeah, this is all very small. Let me just show you again how small this is. Here's the Python, and then there's just a few files, HTML files.
So right now, that form has just got integer fields, which I'm assuming is just the text box that you enter data into.
Yep.
In the original that you showed us, it was actually using a using a little scroller. Could you actually, are there different controls that you can add to your forms to actually make them different? You know, if you wanted to have a spin box or a combo box or something like that.
Yeah, so there are, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Spin box is just where you can press up and down and increase an integer or whatever. There are different forms or fields, and I'm sure that there are extensions too. But if I just look here, there's decimal field, there's float field, there's password field. That's all the little dots. You can have radio buttons and drop downs. You can type text like for a post, like for writing a tweet or something. And there's string field. I could show that. And this is, all I have to do here is add the, so like your name. And then I'll validate that too. Cool. I'm not done. I do have to just add a real quick line here. Dot name data. Okay, and then so I have a name, but I'm not doing anything with it yet. Let's see. It's a little tricky to do that. To redirect. So you could add another like dynamic part here and add a name. But anyway, I'm just showing you like an example of how you would keep extending this. Like if you wanted to add a name, you do that. So I don't know if that answered your question. I do wish there was a spin box.
Yeah, it does answer my it does answer my question, and I'm sure that there's probably an extension somewhere that would add that. So
yeah, well, I'll just leave that name there. It's not like it's doing anything. It's not. All right. Anybody else have questions additional? I'd happy to answer anything. Your toughest last question. Give it to me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just why would someone choose Flask over Django, or what are some use cases that differentiate the two, I guess?
So the main difference between Flask and Django that I know of is Flask is called a micro framework, meaning it's a small framework that you can put small amount of effort into and get big results. I think I'm going to ask Martin if he's still here about like what he thinks of Django compared to that.
I think
so.
he's not
Yeah,
around.
Martin's not on anymore.
Oh, dang it. Okay, well, but I mean, yeah, as you saw, it was all I really needed to just display a simple page, one page, was one of these routes, this Flask object, a few imports, mostly just this one line, and then needed to run it. So that's pretty much the difference. Flask doesn't come with a lot of the boilerplate stuff that Django does. Django comes with like an ORM, a whole database, a suite of database tools to, make your own database and such. Flask doesn't have it by itself, but there are extensions that you would install additionally to put in something like a database. And an example is everything's prepended with Flask, but it would be, if I were to use it, it would look like Flask SQL Alchemy. And it would, that's a common Python framework. And there's an extension that wraps SQL Alchemy, the wraps SQL Alchemy in a Flask sense so that you can use it easily.
Would it be fair to say that Flask is more flexible? I guess.
I think so. I think that would be a fair statement. It is more flexible. It's more lean. It's definitely more beginner friendly. I mean, I'd recommend this course if people are curious about web dev and they're not super experienced in Python. And you're not super experienced in web dev either. As long as you know basic HTML, you can get by just fine. You don't really need to know. I mean, you don't know. Haven't written a single line of JavaScript here, or really a single line of CSS, but I still have a pretty page.
Yeah, I was going to ask if maybe there's a major difference in the templating language or templating engine being used between the two. I'm not familiar with either one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Django too much.
Okay.
I mean, the template language seems the same between the two because I'm just going through the Django course right now. So that seems the same. It's just how you structure your URLs and how you render your pages. They're a little more divided in Django, whereas in Flask they seem to be kind of more bundled up. So you have your route, then you have your view, essentially, or how it's rendered for the page.
Yeah, and with I mean, you're right. I'd say like it is sort of all in one with the template in a template sense. But you do get granularity with these blocks. So you can be more like, you can have footers and headers and the content in the middle. And even within that content, you can have blocks in between there with, I don't know what an example is, but maybe you have a form to fill out and then that's one block and you have maybe like
fragments of HTML.
Yeah, just different fragments. Yeah, very good. Different fragments of HTML. And some pages can have those same elements and some pages may not, but it's all just a one line like extends from and a super and a block and then that's it. You don't have to type all that HTML again and copy and paste, and that just gets to be a mess. And I'm sure Django has at least another template framework. I don't know what it looks like either. Efim, you got any questions? I'm just curious if he's still here.
Oh, I'm still here. Sorry, I was kind of listening in, but also doing something for work. But I think this is a very awesome and a cool way to build an app from scratch really quick. You know, and a lot of it sort of reminds me of Spring Boot, like those annotations, above the methods. Like I'm assuming this app.py that sort of acts kind of like a controller class. And I also like this whole thing about how Flask is just like a server, and then you can add on to it the things you need, but instead of just getting a lot of stuff from the get-go and being confused about it.
And that brings me to another thought. Thanks for chiming in, but that brings me to another thought. Flask is written in Python, and with Python, you have the world of Python along with it. So you can do all kinds of things. You can have a web server that can, like records a hamster that does trades, crypto trades or something. That was just a silly example. That's real, by the way.
Yeah. So I think the next thing I have, I mean, obviously this is all running on your machine. And every time you run app, Flask is automatically firing up this little web browser or this little web server, and it says right up at the top, it says this is for testing. Don't use this in deployment. So how would you deploy something like this?
So I'm actually gonna I can show you that. This is a fair warning. Don't use the Flask server as your production, like what you're gonna push into the world. This is a fair warning. Do heed it. But for something like to get rid of this warning, for one, and to allow for flexibility of production versus development, I'm using this function to run the app, but it kind of limits me. Instead, what I can do is export a few environment variables. So I'm gonna, this is just telling Flask, the Flask app is app.py. And so right there, there's this nice Flask. Oh, happened. So there's this nice, it comes with the package. You can just call it in your shell, your console. And it gives you a lot of these commands like run and shell. Run is what I'm going to use here for running this. Let's run. So that's, I don't know why I can't find that. That's weird. But that would do the same thing as this line here. And that's still doing it. Nope, didn't want to do that. So my point that I was going to get to, okay, there it is. I don't know, it just needed a refresh. So I've run it, same as I did here. It's running over here, just like it has been. I can change, so it still says warning. I can add another environment variable. And so this is just variables in your console. You can call it that. And I can specify a environment, Flask env, and then give it development. And if I run it again, that was a pretty quick switch from development mode to production mode. But yeah, now I have, if I get an error somewhere in here, then it will show me, you saw those like nice error messages in the page itself. So when that comes to pushing to a production, or like doing production server, you don't want to use the Flask server. There's easy integration with production ready servers like Nginx it's called, or there's honestly I think there's one that connects to it called GUnicorn, which is a Python library for web apps in Python for just deploying them in a production mode and having it ready to go. And it's definitely ready for the outside world. And the Flask server is not, although it is very nice and very small and very convenient to use and develop with.
Kind of reminds me of Tomcat with Java and Spring development. Tomcat, same way. You don't want to expose it to the outside world.
Yeah. Definitely. All right.
Very cool.
Well, thanks everyone for joining. I think we're about out of time, but I'll take any last minute questions.
Last chance. Going once. Going twice. Okay, Brandon, thank you very much. this was great. I mean, I've looked at Django before. I think I looked at Flask before, and it was just immediately confusing. So we have a thanks, Brandon, coming out from Christopher. So
sure.
So
thanks for joining, Chris.
Yep. And so Scott said the same thing. So this was great. This cleared things up for me. Take it from, okay, let's take it from the basics and build it up, as opposed to, hey, here's a basic form. Now understand this. And I just look at this go and, if you had started here, I would have not known what to do. But starting where you did and building up to this makes perfect sense to me. So,
cool.
So brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to let.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always great. And I want to let folks know who are on the call and anybody who's listening to this afterwards, you can, if there's something that you want to hear about, something that you want to talk about, we have a forum set up. It is posted, and I will post it again in the Slack and in the forum. And you can go up there and put in any kind of topic that you want to hear about. We will find somebody to talk about it. If we can't find anybody to talk about it, man, I can fake it for half an hour if I need to.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah. So we'll definitely source it out. We got there's a great group of folks here. We've got tons of students who know things that we don't know. We've got instructors and mentors and folks who would love to talk about some of these things. We just need to know what you want us to talk about. So the last thing I wanted to mention was I put up in the forum and in the Slack channel as well, an upcoming coding contest in December. So this will be the kind of end of year coding challenge. It's called Advent of Code. It is two puzzles every day from December 1st till December 25th. I didn't put it in there. It's called Advent and it's around Christmas, but you don't have to celebrate Christmas to be part of it. Everything is very secular. Matter of fact, it probably is helpful if you don't celebrate Christmas, because the contest ends on Christmas Day, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, you have an advantage because you don't have family to worry about. So it's definitely worth it. It's accessible to students of all levels, and we'll have some prizes set up for folks who get from the beginning to end. If you solve all 50 of them, I haven't done that every year that I've done it. If you solve all 50 of them by the end of the month, I'll make sure personally that you get something cool. So definitely worth it.
We got this.
Yeah. So take a look at it, see what you think. Some of the coding contest items that we have put into that I've put out to the crew have come from that. I've given these puzzles to my students when it's Christmas break, or holiday break, winter break, and say, hey, over the break, if you do this, I'll give you 20 extra bonus points on the year. And some of them jump at it and some of them don't. So these are really good. If you like this kind of stuff, it's not mandatory. 2 weeks, we've got another brown bag coming up. I do not have a topic yet, but I will have one by the end of the week. If nobody else jumps onto one, I will. There's something that I'd like to talk about, and we'll do that. And then we'll have a brown bag in December, and we're gonna do. There'll be like an end of year retrospective in December. So bring your holiday themed clothing, and if you've got cookies that you want to share virtually with everybody over the Zoom, bring those too. I'll probably have some
virtual
myself.
Cookies.
Virtual cookies, yeah. So in keeping with European law, we'll have to have a little disclaimer that says we use cookies on this site, but that's okay. So, okay. Anything else? Anybody have anything else they would like to talk about? Anything else they'd like to add? Jared?
I wanted to quickly say thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you, John. This was really cool, very informative. It was great getting a little primer on Flask here, and I'm really excited to dig in a little bit deeper now. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Brandon, for jumping in on this. This was really very cool.
And just want to say, go everyone else for keeping on your learning path, and I'm still learning myself. So thanks for joining and keeping up that learning mindset.
Okay.
Yeah. Right on.
Okay. So if that's it, I will make sure that this gets posted as soon as possible. We'll get it up there so people can look at it later, and look for some more notes on the forum and on Slack about our next upcoming brown bag. Like I said, the coding contest is there, and that's about it for now. I will give you back the rest of your day. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.